Hello guys, this side Sunetra Kesh, and today we will start with the chapter soil. Okay, in the biological sciences, let's start with the soil. Okay, we will mixed up with chapter 7 and chapter 8 as well. Okay, in this chapter. So, let's start with the chapter. What is soil? Soil is a thin, porous top layer of the Earth's crust, made up of minerals, organic matter, air, water, and living organisms. It provides vital natural medium for plants, land plants to grow, filters waters, and supports all terrestrial life. So let's say this is our Earth, okay? So this is the Earth's crust, okay? In the middle of the earth is called the earth's crust. Okay, this outer top layer that is covered with soil, okay, like envelope. Okay, this outermost top layer, it is covered with soil, thin layer called soil, and it is porous as well, because whatever water droplets or whatever comes on the surface of the soil, it gets penetrated easily. That's why it is called the porous top layer. Okay, because pores are there to get the water drained off easily to the several layers of the soil. Okay, and it is made up of minerals, organic matter, air, water, and living organism. Minerals means potassium, phosphorus, and all those. Organic matter, dead plants and dead animal remains. Air, water, and as well living organism. Living organism like bacteria, fungi, and earthworm, and all those. Okay. So all these things mixed up and forms a vital nutrient for the soil, for the growth of the plant, for the in the land, as in the land itself. Okay, and not only that, it also helps in the filtration of the water. Filtration of the water, how does it occur? Because of the several layers are present in several horizon forms. Okay, I will share you the details in the same, that several layers are there in the soil formation. Let me show you the image once. Look, this is the several layers are present in the soil. Okay, so this here the filtration occurs in the water. Okay, so this is why the filtration occurs in the soil. That's why we are it is also helped in the process of filtration of the water. Okay, so there are several layers which help in the filtration of the water and supports all terrestrial life, because there are several land animals present on the our mother earth. Okay, so that's why several land animals are called terrestrial life. Okay, only the land animals are called the terrestrial life. So that is also supported by the soil for their living beings. Okay, for their survival on the land. That's why it is called and supports all the terrestrial life. So what is soil? We got the point. What is soil? Now how soil is made up of? Soil is made up of mineral matter 45%. If we analyze the according to the graph, it is mineral matter is 45%. Soil water and moisture is 25%. Okay, soil air is 25%, humus and organic matter is 5%. Okay, and living organism are like variables. Okay, it can vary. Okay, so let's start with the mineral matter. What is mineral matter? Inorganic, that means that which is not organic, which is not living. Okay, that is called inorganic. Which is not living, it is called inorganic. Okay, where it is no life is there, it is called inorganic, and where life is there, it is called organic. Okay, so inorganic weathered rock fragments. Okay, when the rock fragments get with the weathering process means, what is weather means, you know what is climate change, through the climate change and all those, weathering process occurs. Okay, so there is a vast chapter in the weathering process. I will uh, help you in you all in that also. But in weathering process, inorganic weathered rock fragments providing structural anchor and basic element. Providing structural anchor and basic elements. That means the rock fragments that is happening, okay, inorganic in a inorganic form, okay, that not only help in the formation of the structure of the soil, but also it helps in the basic element formation of the soil. That means some minerals are formed, some vital nutrients are formed, okay, that are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, all these things, okay. So that basic elements formation is also helped in this weatheration, okay. So inorganic weather rock fragments is formed. This is called the mineral matter. This comes under the mineral matter, that is 45%, okay, in the soil. It is present in the composition of the soil is 45%, and the composition of in the soil of water and moisture is 25%, okay. 25% retained water, it retains the water is retained in it in pore spaces, okay, and crucial for dissolving and transporting nutrients to plant roots. So this water in pore spaces, that means there are some pores spaces are there, some, or there are some spaces are there are some pores are there where the water is retained, okay, where the water is stored, okay, for the vital process of the soil. Because when the water is getting dissolved in the soil and when the roots are taking in that water, okay, when the roots are sucking that water, that water is not only getting the minerals and nutrients, but it also help in the transportation to several parts of the plant, which directly or indirectly helping in the process of the food processing of the plant. So that ultimately is helping the plant to grow, okay. So that's why soil water and moisture 25% is present in the soil composition, okay. So that is helping in the plant formation, okay. So now comes the soil air is 25%, okay. Soil air is 25%. Air, what is air? Mixed up of gases, okay. As we all know, air is mixed up of gases. And plants, what it does, it takes in carbon dioxide and releases oxygen, okay. So that's why when oxygen and gases are trapped in pore spaces. So here why oxygen is trapped? Because of the root respiration and organism survival. Some gases are trapped because of the root respiration. Nitrogen are needed for the root respiration for the plant itself. Okay, so nitrogen is a gas that is needed for the plant by the plant for the root respiration. Okay, and oxygen is needed by the several organisms living in the soil itself, because they also need to survive, right? So that's why several organisms are there, like earthworms, leech, insects, and bacteria and fungi and all those things. So they also need gases, several gases to live in the soil. So oxygen and gases are trapped in the pore spaces, and there are some spaces, there are some pores where these gases are trapped for the root respiration, for the plant respiration, and for the organism survival in the soil itself. Okay, so that composition on the soil air is 25% composition is there for the soil air. Okay, so air part is in the soil is 25%, water and moisture part in the soil is 25%, mineral matter in the soil is 45%. Okay, now comes the humus and organic matter. What is that? It's about 5%. Okay, it's about 5%. So decayed remains of dead plants and animals, okay, that is also called composting. Okay, decay remains means dead plants and dead animals. When they get decayed, when they deteriorate, when they decrease their muscles, their bones, their everything, when they get dead, they decrease, right? Day by day, when the bacteria, when the insects and fungi all, they eat up the things, right? So it gets deteriorated, right? It's get decreased day by day. Okay, so that decay, that is called decaying. Okay, So that decaying of the dead plants and dead animals help in the making of the composting. Okay, help in the making of the composting. So that supply the key nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium uh, are getting the soil is getting from these dead plants and dead animals. Okay, so this nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, where from they are getting? From the dead plants and dead animals decaying matter. Okay, so that is about 5% in the soil. Okay, soil composition. Okay, now comes the living organism. How does living organism reside in the soil? How does it can be related? So it varies because earthworms, what are the living organism? Let us know that earthworms, bacteria, fungi, insect, all these are living organism. Okay, so what does why does they varies? Because that depends on the region to region. Okay, depends on the soil to soil. Okay, so what does they do by residing on the soil? They just help in the aeration of the soil. Aeration means they just make the spaces for the aeration. Okay, so just make the spaces for the aeration in the soil and speed up the organic decay. What does they do? They speed up the organic decay. Organic decay means, organic means living beings, and decay means it's getting deteriorated. Okay, it's getting decreased day by day. Okay, so they just help in the decrease of the just trapping the air in the soil, and just helping with the help of that air, they just help in the organic decay, speeding up the organic decay of the in the soil. Okay, so this is a process. Okay, so that is helping the soil for the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium to get from it. Okay, so these earthworms, bacteria, fungi and insect are helping for the same. Okay, now comes soil is grouped into main types based on the size of its particle. The primary types of soil are sand, silt, and clay, which combine in different amounts to form soil's textures. Okay, so primary, some of the size of the particles varies in the soil textures, in the soil formation, in the soil types. Okay, so there are generally three types of soil, but mixture of that makes another types of soils. Okay, so firstly comes the sandy soil, then comes the silty soil, then comes the clayey soil, then with the mixture of these three comes the loamy soil. Okay, and this is one or another soil is peaty soil. Okay, so we'll read about this. Okay, the sandy soil. What is sandy soil? It's a large particles. Okay, sandy soil is made up of large particles. It's a sand particles, right? It's porous in texture. It's uh, very hard and porous in texture. Okay, so it drains the water very fast. If you put some water on the surface of the sand soil. Okay, it drains the water very easily. So that's why it has a large particles, that's why it is draining the water very easily. Okay, so that's why the nutrients that are present in the water, that is not getting dissolved in the soil, that is not getting mixed up in the soil. That's why in this type of soil the nutrients are very low in quantities. Okay, now comes the silt soil. I will show you the image of this soils as well. Okay, now comes the silt soil. These are made up of medium sized particles. Okay, let me show you the image. One second. Look, this is a sand soil. You know how sand looks like. Okay, and this is a silt soil. This is a normal soil. You can check. This is a silt soil. This is a clay soil. This is a mud types of soil that gets dried up easily in the sun rays and gets watery formed easily while in the moisture and rainy areas. Okay, and this is a loamy soil. Okay, And peaty soil, this is a peaty soil. It's a grass straws, that gets dried up. So that is mixed up soil. That mixed up soil is called the peaty soil. And this is a chalky soil, how chalks are made up of. So this is a chalky soil. Loamy soil, this one is silty soil, this one is clay soil, okay, and this one is sandy soil. So as we are going to the silty soil, it is made up of medium sized particles, okay, it is made up of medium sized particles, and it's very smooth like flour, very smooth like flour. That means like atta, maida, and all those things, it's very smooth like flour, okay, and it holds the water. um, Rather than sandy soil, it can hold the water, okay. In sandy soil, water is not holded easily, but in silty soil, the water is holded easily, okay. And it is, as the water is holded in this type of soil than the sandy soil, so that's why the nutrients and minerals are rich in this, okay. Now comes the clay soil. It is made up of tiny tight particles. Clay soil made up of tiny tight particles. Feels sticky when wet and hard when dry. Made up of tiny tight particles. Clay soil is very tiny particles and tight particles. That's why in the rainfall areas, that's why in the rainy areas, it feels sticky, okay, when wet, and it's hard when dry, okay. It's hard when dry, okay, and holds a lot of water with slow drainage, and it holds a lot of water with slow drainage. So that's why it is nutrients and minerals in this type of soil is very less, because it holds a lot of water and it gets muddy type formation, okay. So the drainage is also very slow. So in this type of soil, drainage is not easy. So in this type of soil, the plantation is very low, okay. Loamy soil is mix of sand, silt, and clay, holds water and nutrients well, and is the best soil for growing most of the plant, because most of the nutrients and minerals are getting into this soil, okay. That's why it's have the capacity to hold the water, not a lot amount of water, but average range of water. It has the capacity, because it's a mixture of all the balanced soil, right? So that's why it has a balanced capacity qualities in the soil to grow the most of the plants, okay. So most of the plants are grown in this loamy type of soil, okay. So if this question comes that in which type of soil most plants are grown, you can say it is loamy soil, okay. So peaty soil, what is peaty soil? It is very soft, it is spongy, it is dark in color and full of dead plant material, humus, which holds lot of moisture. In this soil, water is not holded, moisture is holded. Instead of that, moisture is holded. Okay, moisture in the form of droplets. Okay, so it is very soft, spongy, and dark in color, as I showed you in the image, and it is full of dead plant material. Whatever plant material gets dead, you can see rice straws, grass straws, that are dead plant remains, right? So that are actually a humus, as we read, that are actually called as humus. So that is mostly mixed in this peaty soil, okay, which holds lot of moisture. They holds lot of moisture in them, okay. Now comes what, as we are saying that there are 7 major regional soil types, okay, and according to the geographical different areas, okay, the soil types for the agricultural purpose is different, okay. So there is alluvial soil, black soil, red soil, laterite soil, okay, along with desert soil, forest soil, and peaty soil, okay. So regional type soils, alluvial soils, okay. Alluvial soils are formed by river deposits, okay. When the river is flowing, river water is flowing, several dust, soil, minerals, nutrients, muds, and all those things are draining off from the uh, flowing with the river, right? So that is getting deposited. Okay, so that is making the soil very fertile, very rich in nutrients. Which nutrients? Like lime and potash. Okay, lime and potash. In the alluvial soil, what we get? Nutrients, lime and potash. So that makes the soil very fertile, okay, nutritious, and it's great for wheat and rice cultivation. Great for wheat and rice cultivation, okay. So black soil is called rigor soil, and that is dark clay rich soil found in volcanic regions, okay. Dark clay rich soil, dark muddy type clay rich soil found in volcanic region, okay, where volcanic lava eruption occurred. At that region this type of soil is found, that is called black soil. It holds moisture very well, okay, it holds the moisture very well and ideal for cotton cultivation. Cotton cultivation are very good for this soil type, okay. It is called black soil and it holds the moisture very well, okay. Now comes the red soil. Red soil, how the red color forms in this soil? Because of the iron, because of the Fe, iron oxide formation, forms the color of the soil red, okay. And it is low in rainfall areas just because the rainfall is also low in this region, okay. The iron, and also the iron also present in this type of soil, iron oxides. So that's why this soil color gets red soil, okay. And it is lighter fertility, okay. It has its lighter fertility, very light in fertility, and good for crops with added nutrients. Good for crops with added nutrients. That is, it has a very much good for cultivation of crops when it is added with nutrients, other nutrients. Okay. Now comes the laterite soil. It is formed in heavy rain areas. Okay. Laterite soil, as we read, red soil, low rainfall areas, okay. Laterite soil, heavy rainfall areas, okay. And it helps in the leaching process, okay. Leaching process, helps in the leaching process. But what is leaching process? We should also let you know that what is leaching process. When the soil gets drained off or washed off, okay, from the top layer by the heavy rainfall, it is called the leaching process. The nutrients are also getting washed off, okay. So when these nutrients and minerals are washed off with the heavy rainfall with the soil itself, okay, from the top layer, the nutrients are also getting washed off, right? So this type of soil is low in nitrogen and needs treatment for farming. Before doing the agriculture, before doing the cultivation on this type of soil, before doing the plantation on this type of soil, this type of soil needs to be treated well by the farmer, okay. There needs to be add some nutrients, some minerals from manually from their end, so that this soil can be uh, best fitted for the agriculture, okay, for the cultivation or plantation, okay, of the crop, sorry. So there is desert soil as well. As I told you, desert soil are sandy soil and arid soil. Arid soil are same as sandy soil, okay, coarse in texture and low in organic material. They are very much low. You can say very much low in organic material, because dead plants and dead animal remains are not present in this type of soil, because these are sandy soil, right? Desert areas, it's full of sandy areas. So this type of soil can grow crops if irrigated. So there are certain types of crops, if it is irrigated, if it is done with manually, some irrigation process are there, Okay, some agricultural process are there. If that is done properly, then crops can be grown on this type of soil. Okay, now comes the forest or mountain soil. What is forest or mountain soil? Found in wooded or hilly region. Okay, found in wood or hilly region. Okay, where long trees and plants are grown. Okay, and in the mountain or hilly region, this type of forest or mountain soil are found, and it is rich in organic matter from dead leaves, varies in acidity as well. Okay, so it's rich in organic matter. Wait a second. So it is rich in organic matter, that is dead plants remains. And as because the soil is rich in organic matter, dead plant, so it is also varies in the acidity, because some parts are in this type of soil, as it occurs, some parts of the soil is low in pH level, in acidity level. Some parts of the soil is high in acidity level, in high in pH level. Okay, so it varies with the different areas in this type of soil. And organic matter, dead plant remains are present in this type of soil. Now comes the peaty soil. As we read about peaty soil, high in dead plant material and organic matter, grass straws and all those leaves, dried leaves and all those humus. So very spongy and dark, and holds high amount of moisture. This type of soil holds high amount of moisture rather than water. This type of soil holds high amount of moisture, so that the moisture can convert the dried dead plant remains and dried leaves easily into decay easily into uh, humus, into a valuable nutrients for the soil, to support the soil. Okay, for the plant growth. The soil profile or layers. So how many types of soil profile or layers are present? Okay, so let's say there is a soil profile is a vertical section. What is soil profile? Let's say soil profile is a vertical section displaying distinct horizontal layers called horizons. Distinct horizontal layers are made, that are called horizons. Okay, so there is a horizon A, that is called topsoil. There is a horizon B called subsoil. There is a horizon C called weathered rock. There is a bed rock called the parent rock or R horizon. Okay, now what is horizon A type soil? The topmost dark colored layer rich in humus and minerals, homes home to roots, earthworms and microorganisms. Okay, so the topmost layer is a very dark colored layer, and it is rich in humus. Because why it is rich in humus? Because the dead plants and dead animals remains are getting processed in this soil only. Okay, so it is not penetrating the soil and then it is getting processed. So it is getting processed on the topsoil layer surface only. Okay, so in the surface only the humus are getting decayed. So that's why it is rich in humus and minerals as well: potassium, phosphorus, nitrogen, all these minerals. So it is home to roots. Home to roots means the plant roots are getting their home, getting their structure to go beneath the layers. Okay, all the layers. So it is called the home to roots. Okay, and so earthworms and microorganisms are also present in this type of soil. Okay, earthworms and several insects and microorganisms like bacteria, fungi are also present in this type of soils. Okay, what is horizon B and subsoil? The middle layer containing a lesser amount of humus. Okay, the middle layer, after coming from the horizon A topsoil, there is a B horizon, that is the subsoil. This is called the middle layer, that contains lesser amount of humus. Okay, that contains lesser amount of humus. Why it is containing lesser amount of humus? Because the dead plants and dead animals remains are getting decayed on the top surface layer of the soil, right? So that's why the horizon B subsoil, there is no humus, no decaying matter, no dead plant and animal remain are there. So that's why it is lesser amount of humus contains. Okay, but a higher accumulation of minerals and leached down clay. But this type of soil contains a higher amount of minerals, because when the top layer of the soil get rushed off through the rainfall, get drains through the rainfall, okay, get washed off through the rainfall, okay. So the minerals, what they are getting, it is get the leaching process is done. Okay, so the leaching process is done. That's why the horizon B subsoil is getting the all the higher accumulation of minerals, all the higher concentration of minerals are on this type of soil. Because if the rainfall happens, okay, then what is happening, all the nutrients from the top layer of the soil, it getting washed off, okay, and then the B horizon is getting the maximum amount of minerals. Okay, now the horizon C weathered rock, okay, it is made up of small loose fragment of broken and decomposed parent rock. Okay, it is small loose fragments of broken and decomposed parent rock. Why it is called decomposed parent rock? Because the bedrock, when it is decomposed, when it is broken down, okay, it forms in a loose fragments. Okay, so it is called as the uh, small loose fragments of rock, it is called as the weathered rock. Okay, because due to the weathering process, the uh, bedrock is fragmented. Bedrock is fragmented into small pieces that turns into weathered rock, that is small fragments of rock. So the bedrock is getting decomposed. Decomposed means it get decaying. Okay, decay we use the word when it is organic, and inorganic, in the case of inorganic we use the word decompose. Okay, but the meaning is same as usual. Okay, so decompose the parent rock. Okay, now comes the bedrock, the last one. From this part is happening. Okay, so I will go with the image as well. So bedrock, it is the parent rock or our horizon, the solid, the most solid part of the rock. Okay, and it is totally unweathered rock. Okay, it is totally unweathered rock layer. Here we are getting the weathered rock layer. From the bedrock itself it is getting weathered, but this bedrock is not weathered. Weathering process is not happening in this rock. Okay, bedrock. Okay, so what is weathering process, we will let you know. But let us tell you that this is a totally unweathered rock layer, and at the base it forms at the base, and it is the core mineral character of the overlying soil. Because it is the base part of the soil. Okay, and it has a main character for the core formation and the overlying soil. All the top most horizon, all the top layers are forming by over this bedrock only. Okay, so there is a overlying of the soil are present on this type of soil. So we are getting the core mineral character of the all the overlying soils from this bedrock itself. Okay, how it is happening, we are getting it from the weathering process. We will let you know for that. So now comes the erosion process. What is erosion process? Erosion process is the stealing. Stealing means robbery. Stealing of the good topsoil by strong wind or rushing water. When the water via rainfall or via any other process, when the water gets rushed off from the topsoil, when the wind, strong wind get rushed off get rushed off get strong wind flows, the topsoil get blowed away. Rushing water wash away all the top layer of the soil, good part of the topsoil. Okay, so that is called the erosion process. Okay, That is called the stealing of the good topsoil by strong wind or rushing water. That is called the erosion process. Okay. Now, how does it causes? Why does it causes? How why it happens? Why erosion happens? Due to the deforestation. What is deforestation? Cutting down of trees. Okay, cutting down of trees is called deforestation. Okay, if we cut down the trees, the strong wind and rushing water through the rainfall, it can't be hold, right? It can't be holded. So that's why deforestation is the main cause of the soil erosion. And letting farm animals and overeat graze, overgrazing also is the process of this. Overgrazing is also is the cause for this erosion. Why? When the animals are eating high amount of plants and trees from the soil, so overgrazing is happening. So what is if the plants are not there, then strong wind and rushing water can easily erode the topsoil, right? That's why. So fixes, how does it can be fixed? Planting more trees, that is the main process. Afforestation. And now another thing, building steps on hills to stop water rush. In the hills, in the mountain region, you can check that there is a steps formed. Okay, there is a ladder like structure formed, steps like structure formed to get to stop the rushing water, to stop the rushing water, so that the topsoil can't be eroded. Okay, so that the erosion process can be stopped. Now comes the weathering process. Okay, so before going to the weathering process, let me show the image of the soil layers. Soil layers, these are A horizon, the topmost part of the soil, which is home to root. Okay, where roots are occurring. B horizon, this is the after A horizon comes the B horizon. This is the C horizon, where the rocks, the loose fragments of rocks are present, and this is the bedrock. Okay, this one is the bedrock. Okay, when the weathering process is happening through the climate change, through the temperature, through the air, moisture, water, sun rays, everything. Okay, helping in the bedrock to transform into these small rock fragments. Years after years, this process is taken by, and then these small rock fragments are formed. From these small rock fragments, this B horizon soil is formed. This brown color B horizon soil is formed. Okay. Years after years, this same weathering process is done. Okay. Strong wind, rush of water through rainfall, climate change, topographical regional areas, how does impact the temperature impact, all those things. Okay, now from B horizon to A horizon formation is also forming. Okay, so this is the process of weathering. So there is a soil formation, weathering process, and soil preparation is also there. Soil preparation, why does soil preparation happen? To make the land suitable for agriculture, for the cultivation. Okay, so soil forms very slow through weathering process, and farmers prepare it by turning, leveling and manuring. Farmers, what does they do? They prepare it through turning, leveling and manuring process. Okay, what does weathering? Rocks break down into small mineral pieces due to sun, water, wind, and living beings. Okay? When rocks are getting break down into small mineral pieces, into small rock fragments, into small tiny particles, they, due to sun, water, wind, and living things, this process is called weathering process. What is parent rock? Decides the color, texture, mineral, and content of the soil. Okay, what type of content there will be in the soil, what type of soil texture will form, how the color will form, all these comes from the bedrock, parent rock structure. Okay. Climate, climate temperature changes helps in the soil formation. Rain control, how fast rocks crack and decay, how fast the through the help of the rainfall, how the rocks are getting cracked, how the rocks are getting decayed, how the rocks are getting decomposed. Okay, so this type of climate change also help in the weathering process in the soil formation. Okay, now comes the humus. Dead plants and animals not rot to make a dark, rich layer that feeds plants. Dead plants and dead animals also, when they get rotten up, when they get rotted, totally rotted, to make a dark colored, rich layer that feeds the plants, that are made into humus and that feeds the plant, uh, help in the making the plant nutrients, to get the plant nutrients and minerals from this humus. Okay, from the dead plants and dead animals, whatever minerals and nutrients we are getting, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, from this humus itself we are getting. Okay, so now time is also a matter for this weathering process, for this soil formation. So it takes hundreds of years to form just 1 centimeter of soil. It takes a long time period, long time period, to make so 1 centimeter of soil from this bedrock to the soil. This is a journey. Okay, so whatever things are happening, weathering, parent rock, climate, humus, time, all these are included to make the journey possible from bedrock to soil formation. Okay, now comes the agricultural soil preparation. How the soil is prepared to do the agriculture, to make it suitable for the agricultural land. Okay. Now plowing and tilling is the process. Digging and turning the soil using a plow or cultivator to let roots breathe and grow deep. If the soil is mixed, by digging the soil, by mixing the soil from one part to another. Okay, so how does it helps in the cultivation of the soil, and it helps in the breathing of the root of the soil very easy. Respiration process for the roots of the plant makes very easier for this, by this process, flying and tilling. Okay, and the growth is also deep for the roots. Okay, so if the growth of the roots will be deeper one, so the plant's growth will be also a best one for the agricultural purposes, right? So now comes the leveling process. Breaking big soil chunks, that is crumbs, with a leveler so water spreads evenly. Okay, so breaking big soil chunks, crumbs, with a leveler, so that water can spread evenly through all the parts of the soil. If the soil chunks are broken down with a mm, uh, with a leveler, then the water gets spread easily everywhere, so that the cultivation, so that the agricultural process can be gone through easily. Okay. Manuring, what is manuring? Adding organic waste manually or manure before tilling to mix nutrients into the earth, into the soil. Okay, so organic waste, just like vegetable remains, dead plant remains. Okay, all these things are organic waste, manually added to the soil for the tilling purpose. Okay, to mix the nutrients of the soil, to make the soil more fertile, manually for the agricultural purposes. Okay, now comes the soil weathering process, how the soil is forming. As I told you already, we are just reading it out. All types of soils are derived from rocks called parent material. All the types of soils are getting derived or are getting processed through the bedrock, through the parent rock. This is called the bedrock. This is called the parent rock. You can check. This is called the bedrock. This is called the parent. All types of soil is forming from this particular bedrock only. Okay. different types of soil is forming through this parent material. This parent material rocks break down into pieces because of weathering and natural erosion process, stealing process through rush of water and strong wind, topsoil gets eroded. Okay, erosion process along with weathering of rocks through gravity, temperature, plants, animals, pressure, water, topography, drainage interacts with each other in breaking the parent materials. Okay. Now comes the parent materials would become sand and silt and eventually turn into finer materials over the period of time. Okay. It forms in the fine particles of the soil over the period of time. These finer particles known as topsoil, which supports all forms of life on earth. The formation of the soil is continuous but slow process. This formation is a very continuous process. Okay, it doesn't stop down. Okay, it's a continuous process and it is a very slow process. Okay, and it will take thousands of years to form 1 centimeter of the soil on the earth. Okay. So as you can check, as I told you through the image, there's through the weathering process, this bedrock is converting into this small fragment rocks, C horizon. From this C horizon rocks, it is converting to the B horizon rocks, this brown color B horizon rocks. And from this B rock, fine particles A horizon rock is converting. Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you.